Greetings and welcome to Drawing Basics, a series of tutorials about the basics of drawing. Disclaimer, this is the first tutorial I've ever made, and I'm learning how to make them just like you're learning how to draw. Luckily, both of us should improve with some practice, so we're in this together. By the way, I'm Charlie, I'm glad you showed up, and we're gonna make some art. Let's talk about some of the basics of drawing. When we're learning how to draw, there's kind of two different paths that we can take in order to learn this new skill, study it, etc. And one is to start with abstract concepts, and then move towards more complex things. The other is to start with more concrete material or more hands-on stuff and then work backwards from there to either build up from the simple stuff to more complex, or to take the complex stuff and break it down. Both of these things are effective, both of these paths. We tend to oscillate between the two of them, and they're both essential. As an entry point, one may be easier than the other, but we're going to kind of do both. And we're going to follow this idea that every complex thing can be broken down into less complex or more simple things. And if we can grasp those simple things, the most simple thing, then we can move on to the next most simple thing. And eventually those things build up into maybe our desired result. And they're also helpful when we're breaking things down to find what's the most next simple thing, like the step down from here, in addition to going the other direction the step up. Okay, so what are the basic building blocks of drawing? Well, it's as simple as, everything is a line or a curved line. And when we combine those lines, we start to get 2D shapes like the circle, the square, and the triangle, which are shapes we've probably known since we were in kindergarten. And if we combine those shapes, we start to make things that are recognizable, such as if we take a triangle and stack it on top of a square, it starts to look like a house. If we take a circle and add some triangles to it, suddenly we have a cat, so on and so forth. And we can continue to see things that we recognize, like 2 circles for eyes, an upside down triangle for a nose, 2 curves for the mouth. We can come back and add things to the house, add more squares and rectangles, or another roof, so they have a little garage. So this is building up from nothing, taking these building blocks and turning them into this stuff. And then we're going to practice kind of both directions here with this image of a horse, and try to find where these shapes are in this horse image, which you can kind of already see over here on the left. So let's go ahead and we're going to get rid of all of this other stuff, but not the background. And let's focus in on this horse image here, and I will go ahead and zoom in. Okay, so because I'm working digitally, and to make this a little bit easier on myself, I'm going to lower the opacity on the horse. And I've got a nice pencil brush there. It'll change weight with how hard I'm pushing. And now we can look for those shapes, which I'm just going to go ahead and draw them up here. I know they're really simple, but there they are. One of the first most obvious things to me on the horse is this jaw here. So I can go ahead and I'll circle that. That has a nice obvious curve to it that makes our job kind of easy. And then I also even though the end of the nose is not really quite a circle, I kind of see a circle right here in the rest of that. So now we have sort of like two anchor points here, I guess. And the rest of the face, honestly, just draw a line between those two things. This is a nice straight line here for the most part. Get that in there. Okay, and if I was to kind of connect the rest of this stuff, there's kind of the horse's face. And then the ears, I'm going to focus on this one that's in the background. That is basically just a triangle. This other ear is also pretty much just a triangle, or maybe two triangles here, sort of. And I'm not going to worry too much about the interior detail, so I'm not gonna focus on the eye or any of these, or the nose or the mouth. And the back of the neck here, that is just a curve. It's very shallow, but there's still a slight curve to it. This right here, to me, also looks like a triangle. It's kind of curvy. And then the neck, front of the neck, is a little wobbly, but we're just going to go ahead and draw a straight line there. So here we found a couple circles, we've got some triangles. The horse's head is kind of like a trapezoid like that. We could probably even consider the neck almost a triangle as well, to some extent. So let's actually hide the horse image layer really quick. And using just these simple shapes, we have something that looks like a horse already. And we didn't even really do that much. So what we did is kind of start to train our eye to look for certain shapes, which we can keep going with that. That's kind of a circle shape there. The eye is obviously going to have somewhat of a circle shape to it. So on and so forth. I see a shape right there with these curved lines. Okay, so now I'm going to get rid of those because I don't want them. Let's copy what we just did on a new layer and then pull it out to the side here. I'm going to hide what we did on top of the horse already. And then add a new layer and lower the opacity of these shapes. And then we are going to draw on top of that. Okay, so now that we have these shapes here, we can modify them to look more like what we're seeing on the horse. So rather than trying to start from nothing and just like going straight into it, like that's overwhelming. So we're taking advantage of these basic geometric shapes to help us draw the horse. So the back of the neck here is pretty simple. I'm not going to worry about the mane right now. Take a closer look at the ears here. We put them inside of a triangle, but as we look at them, we can see some of these other details here. And we can use the triangle that we put down to our advantage in order to guide what we're going to do with our hand. There's got a rounded tip there, a little bit of a curve. Now we can come look at this other ear. And it's kind of got like that shape back here. Okay. Still going to use that triangle as our base, and then really try to really see what's going on there as much as we can. Okay. The front of the horse's face is still pretty straightforward. There might be a little dip right there. Okay, and then we're at the nose, which has obviously got a lot more going on than just being, this round egg shape. So we can focus on that one step at a time. We could break it down even more. I see this shape here with the lip. There's another shape down there. Kind of see a shape here. Notice that the mouth kind of comes to just under the nose, kind of comes to a little angle there. So let's follow that down. It's another little bump, and then come out. And then there was that angle there that we saw. That's two lines. It's not really a shape, but those lines are still helpful. And then there's this, I'm going to pop over here to the other side of the chin there. I'm going to nail that down more or less, and then come back this way so that I know where I'm going for the most part for something like that. Okay, so now we drew a straight line here. This has got some more curve to it, so we can put a curvy line here down on the bottom. And the cheek is still pretty round. It's not a perfect circle. It's it gets more flat on this side, and then it's more sharp down here. So we can take advantage of the circle that we drew and follow some of it, and then change as we see fit, but still taking advantage of that base. And then this throat, the throat here, we made that a triangle. This has a curve in there, and it's underneath the cheek of the horse. So we'll do what we need to do accordingly. That's a curved line there. And then that's pretty straight. So now we have a nice outline of the horse. And we did that. We built this horse head just using shapes. And I'm going to slide it over here to the horse to see how we did, which is much better than I would have done just freehand without this kind of, you can think of this like a skeleton, or like a building's internal structure. This supports the rest of the details that we add on top. So we can go ahead and zoom out here really quick and see these things together. And we didn't do any interior details in here, like the eye or the nostril or anything, but I just wanted to kind of show that using these basic shapes and starting to look for them in things can be tremendously helpful and a good place to start and make something that seems overwhelmingly complicated suddenly become so much more accessible. And there we go! You now know the very basics of drawing, and it should be enough to get you started. We have so much more to learn, and we'll tackle it one simple thing at a time. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave a comment below. I hope this was helpful, and thank you for watching.